A single bottle of Krug champagne starts at around $250. It's considered by many to be the finest champagne house in the world. Today, we're doing a blind taste test, pitting Krug against an indie competitor. So let's find out if Krug really deserves the title of world's best champagne. Oh my God! Before we pour, I feel like we should explain how we arrived at these two bottles. So my mother recently took us on a trip to the Champagne region of France, to Reims. And one of my goals during the trip was to ask a real champagne connoisseur whether Krug was overrated.
We'd seen Krug in the store. We had tried Dom Perignon before.
Dom Perignon is what you think of when you think of the stereotypical expensive champagne. And Krug is about $100 more expensive than that. So we went to Tresor, which is a fantastic tasting room in Reims, and we asked the guy if he thought Krug was overrated, and he said absolutely not. He said it was incredible, and the look that came over his face as he was describing the time he first tasted Krug, it was almost felt like he was like describing a spiritual experience. So after that, we decided, all right, it's time to pull the trigger and get a bottle of Krug. Then what happened?
So then we walked into like the first champagne store we saw that was open, thinking, okay, any champagne store in Reims is probably going to have Krug, and then we could just get it here. And so
I was like, vous avez du Krug? And the owner looked at us and was like, no.
It was clear that it was like, this was like the indie record store where it was like they did not carry the big brands at all. And looking around after we asked, I was like, oh yeah, there's no big brands here.
There's no brands here.
Yeah, it's all like independent producers.
And he told us that if we wanted to have the sort of transcendent taste experience of Krug, we should try this bottle.
Yeah, not Jean Picard, Jacques Picard.
I
always think of Jean-Luc Picard from Star Trek. So I'm always saying Jean Picard, but it's Jacques Picard. Yeah.
And he said it has a similar flavor profile, and that the year 2008 was an absolutely fantastic year for the grapes. To me, with this taste test, it feels like we're pitting like a designer champagne, like a Givenchy or a Yves Saint Laurent champagne against like an indie label champagne, a sort of obscure, chic fashion house that no one's heard of, but that the in people would recommend.
So we have 4 identical glasses here. These are Riedel Extreme Performance champagne glasses.
Extreme Performance.
They're very good glasses. We have other champagne glasses too, but we don't like flutes, champagne flutes. These ones are the best for actually being able to
get the nose.
And then we put these notes on the bottom here.
So neither of us are going to know what we're tasting, and I don't think we'll know what the other is tasting either. We'll mix them up. I'm really excited. I feel like I want to take my shoes off. I want to touch grass. I'm smelling my first one.
All right.
Whoa! I'm getting a lot of plum in this one.
Mm-hmm. Cloves.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting those spices.
Yeah, spicy.
All right, I gotta smell the other one.
Ooh, very different.
Whoa, this is the one I like. Wow, I like this one.
I don't think I've ever smelled a wine quite like this one.
It's yeasty, it's funky. Dom Perignon has this like creamy lusciousness that's very feminine. This is like an armpit.
Yeah.
But I love smelling people's armpits. It's like a weird, I love smelling people's body odor. And I'm getting a little pool too. So armpit and pool, those do not sound like appealing tasting notes, but to me, I like it.
It's not as strong as the other one.
No.
But if you...
I would not say the nose
if you do a strong sniff, you get something very strong, which I don't think is just yeast. There's more funk to it.
It's like cheese.
Yeah, cheese and like a cheesy lemon pasta dish or something.
Well, one thing so far that's interesting, we have not had trouble finding the common glasses between us. They actually are quite different enough that we're not having confusion about whether we're talking about the same glass. We obviously are.
But wait, and we also started with the same one. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That was just chance.
Yeah.
Because we could have started with different ones, but we think we both started with the same one because we got that.
It'll be really funny if we didn't.
That plum and spice.
My guess is that the funky one is going to be the Krug.
Yeah, I think so too.
And that's not to say it's going to be better when we taste it. I'm just saying I think that one's going to be the Krug. All right, which should we taste first? The maybe Krug or should we taste the funk or the plum? I want to taste the funk.
I wonder if I'm right about the grapes though.
Definitely.
I'm going to taste them in the order we smelled them.
Okay, I'm tasting the funky one first. Wow! Whoa! Oh my God. I think there's a misconception that people think high-end champagnes are going to taste bland, sort of in the way where like rich people always wear beige. So I think there's an assumption that like a really high-end champagne is going to be beige tasting. This could not be farther from beige. It is explosive. It is vivid. It's...
Okay, let me try that one. So I tried the other one first.
Oh my gosh.
It's fairly bright, but it has a lot of complexity. Yeah, and it just is like, there's just so much going on.
But there's that plum again. It's very intense. I hope that when I taste it, it's not as one note on the plum.
I don't like it as much,
I
assuming
don't
we're
either.
right, because it has so much of that, like, from what we tasted in Reims, the indie houses often had this kind of like intense minerality like this, and it's like, okay, it's interesting, and maybe if you're really into this, like you can tell the difference between all these mineralities, but it's not as enjoyable to me as this one.
I agree, and I hate to say that, assuming that we're right about it being the Krug, because I want to support indie in all things. I'm not really like a Givenchy. I'm not a designer shopper. I'm an indie shopper, but.
Well, and I can see you're a huge tea drinker, and I can see why a tea drinker would prefer Krug. It's just, I don't know. There's something about it that's more tea to me, and this one is more like a coffee drinker to me. Or just a gourmand who just likes wild tastes or something. Well, the Krug feels like that sort of like subtlety of tea. All right, you ready to see if we're right?
Let me take one more.
So my guess is I have Krug on my left and Picard on my right.
My guess is that I also have Krug on my left and Picard on my right. All right, let's do it. Yep.
Okay, well, good job. That was not as hard as we thought.
Just make sure, but yeah, I mean.
Here. And you can see the Krug is a lot lighter than the Picard. The Picard's a lot darker.
But look, the bubbles are like identical.
Yeah, very fine bubbles. Well, that was interesting.
That was fun. That was really fun. So it's really interesting that I ended up unequivocally preferring the Krug, even blind, because I knew part of the reason this needed to be a blind taste test is because I definitely had, going into it, a pre-existing bias toward Krug. When I go into the champagne shop and I look at all the fancy champagnes on the wall, Krug has always been the one that really called to me. I think the reason is just because of the word Krug. Krug, like it's not Veuve Clicquot, it's not Dom Perignon, Taittinger, Pierre Jouet. It's kind of an ugly name, and my last name is Thrash. It's not a beautiful last name, it's not elegant. It's sort of harsh and like a little violent sounding. It's ugly hot.
What do you mean?
Ugly hot. It's like, ugly hot is when someone is ugly, but in a way that like really hits right. Like Alan Rickman is ugly hot, Parker Posey is ugly hot. Opposed to hot ugly, which is like someone who's objectively good looking and attractive, but in a way that hits wrong. Like all the Chris's are hot ugly. So anyway.
Like this one to me, it's more like the flavors like pop out at you. It's like mineral, plum, whatever. And then this one, it's more like the Krug. It's more.
They're harder to discern.
It's harder to discern,
flavors.
and you get all this sort of like bouquet of like all these different little flavors, and you're just trying to identify them.
What about the taste tastes expensive? How would you describe that? I guess I would say it's that it's rare. You do not get to have this taste. I drink a lot of champagne. This sensation is rare. Beautiful bubbles. Look at those.
My opinion of the two is not changing at all. I think it's actually even getting stronger that this isn't really for me. Like,
I do like it. I do like it.
There's something
but
interesting.
It can't compare to this.
I think it would be, but actually, I don't know if like we talked up how like we trust this guy and this is a cool pairing. They're more different than I expected, and I actually think this one would be better to pair with another plum forward champagne.
The proprietor framed it almost as this was a better substitute for Krug. And I would say if we were just drinking this one, we'd be like, oh, is that all there is? Is that all Krug is? And whereas we have Krug to compare it to, and it's like, it's not a substitute
and I'd be much more interested in pairing Krug against Dom.
Me too. I want to pair designer against designer. I want to pair it now within its own category. I think that'd be really fun.
The nose is very strange, but then in the taste, it's not as strange as the nose. There's more of just like a lemon, biscuity niceness to it.
But it is strange. Like, I feel like if you're not really into champagne, you'd find this disgusting. And I think there's a misconception that if you're a beginner, you can just get a bottle of Krug because you have a lot of money to throw around, and then you'll love it because since it's $250, that means it must be delicious.
Yeah, we were talking about.
But if you don't have the palate, this is going to taste disgusting.
We were talking with that wine expert at Tresor, like about the Veuve Clicquot experience and how Veuve Clicquot is a thing where it's like it's been designed to be like the most palatable
to the
nice
most
tasting champagne to like the world, and it's just like, and so he doesn't really like it. He respects it for what it is, but he doesn't really like it.
He wouldn't choose to drink it.
It's in no way unique. It just has like all of these like pleasing attributes.
It's designed to please, and Krug is not, and that's another way. I spoke earlier of how I kind of like related to Krug. I relate to that too.
You're not designed to please. You.
Oh yeah, the Veuve Clicquot is designed to please. So if you're just starting out in champagne, drink a Veuve Clicquot. Do not drink this. This is not designed to please. And in a way, the way I feel like I relate to Krug is even stronger now because I'm not designed to please either. My books are sort of strange. They attract a very self-selecting reader.
The thing is, with books, they're all priced the same. They're all like $20. So you can't be like, oh, my book should be $300 because it's a self-selecting reader.
Wait, but
with Krug, it's like, yeah, they charge this exorbitant price,
you guys.
and then you're like, and then it's like for a self-selecting champagne drinker, but you can't do that with Rainbow Black.
Rainbow Black costs $19.99, just like every other book. But you guys, this is a $250+ book. This is the Krug of books. Y'all got an outstanding deal by being able to buy this for $20. Oh my God, what a concept. So in terms of our recommendation, it's not that I would recommend Krug or Jacques Picard. It's that I would really recommend everybody to just drink more champagne. Drink more champagne, develop your palate, figure out what you gravitate towards.
If you're more on a budget, drink a bunch of different Cremanta Bourgognes because we've drank a lot of those too, and those are often at like $15 to $25.
We drank those for years.
There's a lot of differences there too, and you can start developing what you like. Like we mentioned about the plum wine character of this, and we found that through drinking a lot of Cremants.
Well, I thought this was fantastic. I think a lot of people gravitate towards champagne because of its specialness. It feels like it's something elite, and I do feel like this tasting gave me that feeling. And it was cool to be able to share our opinions of these two bottles with all of you. While our neighbor plays Cretan's Clearwater Revival. It's pool, it's yeast, it's armpit. It's beautiful.
Oh, wow. That's like licking a wet stone, but it's somehow good?
Have you ever licked a wet stone?
Yeah, probably.
When did you lick a wet stone?
Like, you know, like in the Boundary Waters canoe area, like you see a nice waterfall and you know the natural spring water is so pure you can just drink it. So then you like lap it up against the wet stone and then you like actually are like licking stone. It's like you want like the streaming water against the stone.
So you're at the waterfall just being like,
Yeah, that's good.